And we are recording with Dr. Jessica Rose and Dr. McKernan, who said he's not a doctor, but I don't care. You can be a doctor anyway. And Jess, you so innocently, you can just call me Jess, not Dr. Rose. I've had a rule, and
That's just at all.
no, you stop this. Dr. McKernan, I've always had a rule with the podcast where if I'm not sure someone's, as you can tell, if I'm not sure someone's a doctor, I just assume they're a doctor for a very simple reason. No one who's not a doctor will ever be upset if you call them a doctor. Only those who are a doctor and you don't call a doctor might get upset. And one day, the first time I ever met Jess, she came in and we started recording and I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to stop being so uptight. And in my mind, I was like, just relax. And I go, Miss Jessica Rose, how are you doing? She goes, Doctor. And I was like, well, you know what? Fuck me. So,
No, I think he called me Ms., which
mi-
is like you would never know that.
whatever. The point stands. The point stands. All right. So I've been shell shocked back into my
Oh,
hole.
no, I hate Ms. for some reason. It's
Is
like
I don't, you know
I don't
what? I
know
don't
either.
gaslighting 101. This is it. So Dr. McKernan and whoever's watching, you guys are all doctors too. So that's the openly
There we go.
hostile energy we're starting on. Um and as I tell everyone now, for the first time ever, the podcast actually has sponsors, coffee, the wellness company, Heaven's Harvest, that's like prepper food because we are going to World War III. Go in the description, promo code Tommy. And so now I can also be an advertising whore. So I'm very happy about that progression. Um, Dr. Rose has been on here several times before. So Dr. McKernan, while I post the live link to the social media sites I'm not banned from, could you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure. So I'm not a doctor, as we've all decided, but I will pretend to be one right now. So my background, I started on the Human Genome Project in '96. That was working at MIT at the Whitehead Institute here in Cambridge. Um, I ran the research and development team there. So we built a lot of robotics to do DNA sequencing and purified plasmids, and then started a couple biotech companies. Agincourt was one that got eventually acquired by Beckman Coulter. It was a large genome center. We were funded by Francis Collins, upwards to $30 million. So we built a very large commercial sequencing operation here in Beverly, Massachusetts. Built some DNA purification tools and some kits that are actually probably sprinkled throughout all those Moderna patents that if some of you may have dug through, and also built some DNA sequencers. So long history, 25 years or so in the genomics field, and I'm currently now putting those efforts towards sequencing medicinal plants to try to open source them as best we can to unstrangle this pharmaceutical nightmare we have on our neck. So that's in a company called Medicinal Genomics. We sequence a lot of cannabis genomes, a lot of Psilocybe cubensis genomes. These are all organisms that produce very safe, non-toxic compounds that can probably play a role in a variety of ailments. So, and somehow I got tangled up in all this vaccine stuff, which we'll get into later, I'm sure.
Well, it's I think everyone's got tangled up in it. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
33 and I
how
do
can
a
you not?
podcast and I've somehow been tangled up in it. Now, granted, I've also gone very far out of my way to get tangled up in, so maybe that answers the question. How does to pivot real quick, how does that is kind of poetic that you worked in such an advanced field. I mean, the Human Genomics Project, isn't that kind of like the living example of Moore's Law, where wasn't it like halfway finished or halfway through the
It
budget and
was
the
faster
timeline and it
than
was
Yeah, it was faster than Moore's law. Actually, if you chart the rate of sequencing, the cost of DNA sequencing decline over time, it exceeds Moore's law. So it was one of these scenarios where a lot of technological leapfrogging occurred. We were able to basically piggyback off of the semiconductor industry and just bolt on all the advances they had one after another to make the sequencing go faster and faster. So it was at the time it was all justified out of personalized medicine, which
yeah.
I love that concept. But all the people involved in the program seem to have turned into fascists and are now pushing herd medicine. So I'm just baffled by where the leadership's gone on this.
It's it didn't Ray Kurzweil talk about that in the singularity is near as biology becomes an information technology, it will piggyback onto Moore's. I think he cites the Human Genome Project, whereas I could be wrong. I read this book in 2008, where it was like halfway through the 13 or 14 year allotted timeline, and it was just not even it was a fraction of percent complete. But as
Probably
second half,
3% done, and yeah,
yeah, and then
the
it
second
and then it
half
just
like got done in 3 years. Yeah.
so as Dr. Rose, was pointing at herself and, personalized medicine. That was the promise, though, right? You swab your cheek, and this is what you need. No longer, it's going to no longer be a hit and miss. It's going to be personalized just for you, and then completely hijacked. But now you're taking the personalized thing and applying it to, I would imagine, for example, the trillions of who knows how many compounds are in the Amazon rainforest of what is in there, what MAO inhibitor, what blood thinner, what anticoagulant is lying in there that is just a natural plant, and we just have to, find whatever active enantiomer is in there. Dr. Rose, Jess, why did you point at yourself? Why did you say that you loved it? Is that just a general thing that we are all looking forward to personalized medicine, or you in particular?
That was me saying I completely agree on being on board for personalized medicine before it got hijacked. Just like I was on board with being cyborged before it became, controlled by this, I don't know what to call it. I'll just call it the globalist entity. It's like and I've talked about this before. I resent it because all of these beautiful ideas and concepts, especially in medicine, that could really like propel not just us as individuals, but us as a species forward, are being abused, for lack of a better word. I don't know how else to say it. So yeah, I don't know if this is related, but it came into my mind. I saw this advertisement for this cube, which reminds me of a D-Wave supercomputer that's supposed to be some kind of AI personalized medicine detector. I don't know how it functions, but did you guys see this? I saw it on Twitter, and it's like a cube that you go into, and there's a chair in it. It's just conceptual for now, and you sit in the chair, and it looked like on Gattaca, it probes your something, probably your DNA, through your blood and your fingertip on these finger pads on the chair. And it gave the impression that it's going to be able to tell you everything about your specs, like your physiological specs, and give you solutions. And I look at it from like an innocent point of view, and I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But then I look at it from the point of view of what is actually probably going to be, like, the idea is going to be used for, and how this gorgeous concept is actually going to materialize. And I'm like, no, not on board at all.
You're one step away from that pod in the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
In a sense, it is kind of optimistic, though, which is it's a change in pace for my opinions on all of this, and that it really brings to light the idea. It's, as you get older and you look back and realize that your parents were once your age and equally terrified, but when you were a kid, you thought they were wise, and it kind of helps to be less terrified. And you go, oh yeah, no, they had no idea what they were doing either, and neither did my grandparents and my great grandparents, and you kind of feel a little bit, everyone's scared shitless. In that sense, we have these beautiful ideas of personalized medicine, and for example. But all of human history is that. I mean, the rocket, we're gonna put telecommunication, radio signals in space, yeah, or we're gonna, put explosives and shoot them at London from Nazi Germany, or nuclear weapon. It's kind of always, or conversely, DARPANET was for nuclear bunkers to communicate, and now we can use it to do a podcast like this, where none of these topics would ever be covered on mainstream news. So, in the same sense of the scared parents, you look back throughout all of human history, and this has always been a battle, and this isn't the last one. And our egos would like to think this one's unique, but it's probably not. In 100 years, there's going to be some new, Dr. McKernan.
So I have some mixed thoughts on all this. And that obviously, all technology can be dual use, right?
Yeah,
you can use it, the wheel, to drive an ambulance or tank.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do with this whole field of virology that is being used to drive gain of function research that could potentially be used as a captive tool to scare populations, a geopolitical tool, if you will, right? I'm not confident that the answer is in hyperregulation, in that when we hyperregulate dual use technology, you tend to only get the military side of it that's approved, right? Look at nuclear energy, right? We don't have it as clean energy. We do have it as missiles. Right now, we hyper-regulated gain-of-function research, and the only people that could use it was Tony Fauci, and he did. Right. So I don't know what the answer is here. I just don't like this idea of everyone clamoring for more regulation from the very people that let this happen. To say that, oh, the U.S. government needs to crack down on this. It's like, well, the U.S. government was the only people allowed to do this, and they're the ones who actually let it leak and laundered the money into China so that it would be offshored, so it didn't happen under the regulations that they put upon themselves. So I don't know if they're the recipe for fixing this. I don't know the answer to it, but we do need to look at history and be like, dual use technology exists. It's always the case with technology. But we have a bad history of hyper regulating things to the point where only the military can use it, which is what I'm afraid of, is where we're at right now with all this field of virology.
But then there's also the unstoppable march. It will happen. Someone will push it forward. There's no sitting out. You can't go, I don't want to do this one, guys. I'm not playing the game. You have to, or you will be bulldozed.
Yep.
So what is there to do? I mean, hydrogen bombs, right? I've used this analogy or example so many times. When all the Manhattan Project scientists went and met with Truman and they told him about the super bomb, it was like, remember that thing we just dropped on Hiroshima? This one's like 1,000 times bigger. And the meeting was only 7 minutes. And Truman's first sentence was like 5 minutes in. And he goes, can the Soviets do it? And they go, within a couple of years. And he goes, well, then we have to do it. And even though it's a quote evil thing, which is what they called the H bomb, if we don't do it and someone else does, we're going to be on the receiving end. So we'd rather harness.
Weird. That's the basis of all of the thinking of all of this, in my opinion.
All of human history.
Yeah, it's this weird loopy thinking, and I do mean loopy in two ways, where we have to do it first because they're going to do it, and then all this devastation occurs in trying to prevent the devastation from the other side. And then, like, every day I wonder how many disasters are occurring without anyone knowing about it, from some new weird technology being tested out. I'm serious. It's like, I really do wonder that.
But can it be avoided? I mean, I get what you're saying is we do kind of destroy it all by going, well, the Chinese or the Soviets or Nazi, they're going to do it first, so we have to do it. And all this shit happens in the wake. But human history shows you do have to do it. You absolutely have to. All of human history is you have to do it or you'll be vanquished. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's good.
Some of the safeguards you can put in place are to decentralize unquestionable sources of power, right? So we have a scenario here where Fauci was unquestionable. He was in control of $42 billion of handouts. The entire scientific field kneeled to this guy and would do whatever he claimed to get the next grant, to get the next citation, what have you. And he can run roughshod over all of society. So I think if it's going to advance, we should be paying attention to what methods will decentralize the use of the technology versus centralize the use of it in the hands of a few. Because I think if it gets centralized, then there's no accountability and there's no control of it. If we can find ways to decentralize it, then you've got a competitive market, lots of people pushing it. Hopefully more people are building wheels and building tanks with the technology. But I worry when you centralize it, you give very few people control over a new technology like this, and they will use it to accrue power and wealth and print money, which seems to be what happened with Fauci's whole wing of the government, is that they utilize this to scare the public. And this has been done before. If you know his history, he did this with HIV. Scared the population. He banned all the nutraceuticals and pushed these toxic other chemicals so he can enrich his pharmaceutical partners. And then he just ramped that up again with coronavirus, where he scared the population, crushed all the generics, and brought in a pharmaceutical partner to mandate a vaccine across the rest of society. That's too much control over a field, such that someone can take a dual use technology and I mean, in his case, it was like double-edged sword, right? He funded the lab that leaked it and then funded the disaster on the vaccine. He's been doing it for like many years and no one's really pushed back on this. So I think the centralization of power is something that we have to pay attention to, because that will allow people to run roughshod over sectors of society.
Jess?
Agreed.
Well, I mean, well, even that, I think we're all in agreement, but that still doesn't address the question of how do we handle moving forward with technology that cannot be avoided. Decentralization is clearly the way, but in terms of superpowers that have budgets like the United States or
We need to
China.
we need to define technology too, because like okay, there are technological machines. There's clearly this interest in interfacing humans with machines. That's something that really interests me, and that might surprise people to hear, but it really does. I think just about every single day I get frustrated with the rate of learning of myself, because I feel like I can only learn at a very slow rate, and it frustrates me.
Yeah.
And I sometimes find myself thinking, I wish I could just interface with, an encyclopedia and just know everything in the encyclopedia, which is a ridiculous thought, because
No,
our
it's
brains are
not.
wired. Well, but it is, because our brains are wired in a certain way, and it's a beautiful thing. And we're not just about knowledge acquisition in the form of like facts. We're also very much emotional and social beings, which was what I was alluding to. It's like technology to evolve like this, like the interconnectedness of our species, and us and the planet and the other living beings of the planet, and like the psychic stuff, if you will. Like, I think that there's a lot of untapped abilities, quite frankly. And so maybe if we kind of, well, I don't know, maybe we are developing that kind of technology. But yeah, it's maybe it's about resource dispersion. I don't know. Or like which technologies we're actually going to develop, because it seems like we really develop a lot of things that are aimed to like hurt each other.
Well, that's primarily what we. I don't think it's silly to want to interface with it. I mean, starting July 2021, I decided I want to see how many books I could just read a year. And every morning I wake up, I put on an audiobook, and every 5 minutes I increase 0.1%, so, or 10%. So 1.1 speed, 1.2 speed, get it up to 2.0, sometimes 2.5. That's about the limit I can go to. And I'll try to leave it there for an hour. Go to the gym, get ready for the podcast. And by doing that in an hour, I can maybe knock out 2.5, 3 hours of data. And in 2.5 years, I've read something like 180 history books, which is more than I've ever read in my life. It's still frustrating because there's still so little I've actually learned. And it feels good, but I want to learn this stuff to do podcasts and be able to cite things, and like Truman and the H-bomb. What happens when someone else wants to use all of that technology or all of that knowledge to destroy something else or to set up a totalitarian society? There is no competing with it. You have to merge with it. You have to, whatever the technology is. So sure, the centralization of this power, Fauci as an example, is bad. But, and I don't think, I love, clearly by the flag, I love the United States despite all of its flaws, and there are many. In terms of superpowers that have trillions of dollars to throw around towards this R&D, I still think we're the least worst place. And I do. And it's
At least worst is good.
no, but it is, but I mean,
Canada was really appealing a few years ago, but suddenly they fell in last place.
that's what I mean. It's and they don't have the budgets to throw around. So it's we can fold our arms and go until we decentralize it. We're no more H-bombs, no more personalized medicine. And I'm sitting this one out and I'm not budging. It's a filibuster. It's a personal filibuster. And China's like, cool. So we're gonna bulldoze you, and those 2 million Uyghurs in concentration camps. We're gonna try to turn that into 2 billion people. So thanks for that. Thanks for that moral grandstanding. The world's ours, and it's like, well, which one do you want? Do you want to sit it out? Well, if we can't eat.
There's a good podcast I'd point you to from Bob Murphy, who talks about which countries actually win wars, and they aren't the ones that are essentially planned. They're the ones that have the freest markets. Economies win wars. World War II was won because we had a large economy, came in late, and were able to supply weapons. Right. So freedom actually wins in the end. Totalitarianism only exists when people are asleep and let freedom slip. So I think a lot of this comes down to monetary policy. Is as long as we have a government that can print infinite amounts of money, they're going to waste it on weapons. If we can pull that back in any way, whether it be through gold, crypto, or other types of currencies, and reduce the amount of government spending, you will leave that money in the marketplace. I mean, what you're effectively doing with a lot of this money printing is you're taking money from productive people and putting it to unproductive uses. Right? That's a horrible societal plan. You need to leave the money with the Elon Musks of the world, as much as people may envy him, but he is a productive person. When you take his money and hand it out for doing, putting woke books into schools that parents fight over, you're wasting everyone's resources. You're taking it away from a guy who's going to get us to maybe Mars and putting
We're
it
making
into
posters with Christmas trees with masks on them at Stanford.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly. So I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that we have let this fiat system run its course. It will fail. It always fails. Every society fails on fiat over time. It's just a matter of how many hundreds of years does it take. And we're at the very tail end of this thing, where this thing's going to blow up on us because they printed too much money, and when they have that much money, they wreck all types of marketplaces, because you've got people like Fauci taking $42 billion and pushing it in the wrong direction in science. And he's taking it from all the biotechs that were doing something productive. Right. So this whole centralization of, the government needs to spend money on all this science to build ant farms in Fauci's backyard, I disagree with. I think you should wipe out the whole NIH. You should wipe out the whole FDA, get rid of them entirely, start over. You don't need centralized funding of science, because it happens based on free market forces. NASA didn't get us reusable rockets. A private company did.
It's even better when there's independence, because then there's competition and there's incentive to make a better product.
I should clarify. I often do this on the show, and I don't know. I'd like to think it's a talent. It might just be, the opening shots of a split personality that lands me in a padded room. But everything I'm arguing, I don't necessarily agree with. It's just what I think is going to happen. Like, I don't want something to happen. But if you're watching 9/11, you're like, I don't want the towers to fall. But you're like, dude, I think those are going down. I don't want it to. Everything I'm saying is like, I just think that's what's going to happen. I'm with you guys. I think it should all be skimmed. I think it should all be gutted. I'm trying to look at what do I think most realistically is going to happen.
And how are we going to get from A to B is always a challenge. No one can really predict that.
Well, I think step one is making you chairman of the Fed.
No, there shouldn't be a
Fed.
No,
you got to do it. No, you got to do it. You got to do it. No, you can do with what you can do with it what you please.
Tommy.
Do what?
Get rid of the Fed.
Well, he can do that when he's the chairman. We got to go through the
I'll have
existing
it all
routes.
move to Bitcoin. How's that?
Yeah, there you
Take
go.
up a Bitcoin standard, and
there you go. All right. Well then, how is it going to be adopted then to bring it back to personalized medicine? In what realistic way? What path to decentralization do you see? Is it through what you're doing, through them being private companies? Do you hope to just have as many competitors at once, as opposed to it being pigeonholed within the government from the start?
Well, I think one of the first things which is a silver lining coming out of the pandemic, is that people need to take sovereignty over their own health. They haven't done that for decades. They've been relying on this weird collection of insurance companies and private physicians, where no one can figure out what anything costs in medicine. Right? That's a sign of a disaster. There's a great book from John Goodman who talks about what's the name of his book? Something it has to do with price signals in medicine. It's called Priceless. That's the name of the book. When there aren't prices, no one knows what to fix. An entrepreneur doesn't know what is broken if you don't have prices. And in medicine, they've made it really impossible for you to ever know what anything costs.
Yeah.
You pay a $20 copay, and then there's a big fight between an insurance company and the physicians and everyone else that hassle back and forth as to how much it really costs. And before you know it, a Band-Aid costs $50.
Yeah.
Right. So by them taking sovereignty of their own health, price signals will come back into medicine, because you'll start shopping around for, okay, I need to work with physicians. They're going to cost some money, but I'm actually going to know what the cost in the value of what they provide me is. And likewise, the medicines that they choose are going to start having price signals on them. I think the reason medicine's all gone off the rails is that no one knows what anything costs. And when that happens, you can't fix something without price signals. Entrepreneurs have nowhere to go. And most entrepreneurs I know, I've been in the space building genomic companies, getting them, built up and sold. I avoid anything clinical like the plague, because you cannot figure out what anything costs. So you can't be an entrepreneur there. So the entire Obamacare system has taken all the entrepreneurs and had them run for the hills. They don't want to go anywhere near healthcare because you need at least 10 years, 20 years to potentially exit. You'll never really know what things cost. And your success or failure depends on like what politicians you know and how you get a bill crafted to fit your company. That's boring. No one wants to be in that space. They want to be inventing new technologies and building tools that have none of the politicians touching it. So they go into markets that are regulation free, like crypto, or they go into computer sciences or into, tech industries that are so far ahead of the politicians, they don't know how to regulate them until it's too late.
Yeah.
So if we want healthcare, I think, to get back to being entrepreneurial and lowering costs over time, because every other industry sector is lowering the price of their goods over time, with the exception of healthcare, which is going the opposite direction. And it's because healthcare has no pricing signals. In order to fix it, I think people need to get back to sovereignty on their own health. And this pandemic, I think, has shown them what a big scam the whole thing is. That none of these people are really out for your health. They're out to bill. They're out to capture, co-pays and get all types of reimbursement incentives for COVID. I mean, we had this pandemic, which was somewhat of a fake pandemic because the whole medical system was just billing things aggressively for COVID when it wasn't really COVID. So we fabricated this entire COVID like scare. Not to say that the virus doesn't exist. It went around, but it did not hit a pandemic scale anywhere. It barely registered as a pandemic. There's a ton of malfeasance when it came to like using remdesivir, stripping away antibiotics, aggressive use of ventilators. All this stuff killed people, shoving elderlies into nursing homes, right? But the actual virus itself was predominantly being detected as they were dying, not as the cause of death. It was just you had other comorbidities. So all of this is what happens when you centralize decision making. Entrepreneurship goes out the window, price signals go out the window, and everyone is trusting someone else to deal with their health. I think the pandemic woke a lot of Americans up, that maybe more than just Americans, that you can't trust these people. You're on your own, and that might be scary, but it's probably a good thing.
Well, regardless if it's scary or not, it's reality. It doesn't matter if you're scared, right? It just is what it is. The price signal,
right.
Price signals that's like me and my buddy. We always do like a video game stream. We always talk about bullion and gold and silver. One of the first books I read when I started on this like endeavor 2 years ago was The Creature from Jekyll Island by Gilbert Griffin. And that from the get-go, I was like, oh, it's all the Fed. And I have not changed on that. Almost 200 books later, I'm like, no, it's still no, it's that's the demon. End of story. But we always joke about, if you go on like bullion websites, right? There's gold, there's silver, there's platinum. Lesser so is palladium, and then you can go into even lesser is like rhodium, and then it starts to get more and more unstable. And so we always joke about just like the most bullshit thing, like I'm really heavy on tantalum and osmium, and just
osmium is the densest element known to man. I call a lot of people on Twitter osmium.
Yeah, well, no, and that's why I remember it as osmium, right? Tungsten's highest melting point, I think, and osmium. But we always, and so one day we actually ended up going online and trying to find like little bullion bars. In terms of pricing, there is nothing. So you can find an ounce for like $80. Other places it's like $2,800. And we're like, that's how I know it's no one knows what to do with it, because there's nothing. Gold, you find a dollar premium here and there, and like there's the deal, right? But osmium, it's like, dude, that goes from like I don't know, new AirPods to like a used car. Like the gap is so massive that you go, oh well, there is no real competitive market for it. And so then you have to think about healthcare, and you go, if no one knows what it is, the surgery is $800,000, or I don't know, maybe it's $10. It's all bullshit. And is that, I don't know, maybe that's the signal that it's on the way out. Maybe it's just a dying machine that's on its way out, and so that's why there's nothing that's real.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly seeing a lot of these other physician groups start up that are more of like direct primary care and telemedicine, and I support all that. I think that's a great, refreshing change, because if we can pull it out of the insurance-based model, we can get back to physician-patient relationship. Right now, we have a physician-politician relationship, which isn't working out for anybody. So I hopeful it will move in that direction after this pandemic mess.
Do you think it's on the way out in the idea, and this might be too far ahead, this might be like Star Trek, but are we on the way towards merging with machine to where this entire concept, like in Richard Rhodes' book Energy, they talk about how there's this huge forest somewhere in England, and it used to be guarded because it had a national security interest because they used the trees to make giant ships for the Queen's Navy. And it was guarded, and you couldn't go near it because they had to grow these things for hundreds of years in order for them to be big enough. And they put in all these laws like you shall not touch this for 400 years. And by the time 200 years goes by, it's like, do we have like steel ships? And the entire thing's kind of a joke. It's like we don't need to guard this. It's a cool forest, but we don't need it
Yeah.
anymore. You almost wonder, are we looking at this archaic thing? If we don't know how much a Band-Aid costs and can you use ivermectin, are we just on the way out? Are we emerging with a machine to where it just runs on electricity? Will you be able to replace your organs with actual machines in 30 years? And we'll look back at this entire thing, this entire problem of healthcare, the same way we look at, I don't know, a forest in England.
I mean, I'm all for that merger to happen in time, but I think there's a little bit of I think it lacks a little bit of humility about the complexity of biology.
Yeah.
The capacity to like integrate and replicate what humans do is we always like to dumb it down to, oh, your head's just a computer, and then you find people that like are missing 98% of their brain and still functioning.
Yeah,
and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What the hell does the brain do?
Yeah. It's
Exactly.
It's my uncle, my namesake, who I'm named after, and he's named after his father, my grandfather. He was in Duke Medical School, and in 1980 was in a car crash. He was the first ever successful patient of a hemicraniectomy, which is what I think they use for soldiers now coming home with blast damage. 1980. No, you can find him. Was at Duke Medical School. Was halfway through, lost half of it. Truly had to learn how to like move his fingers and talk again. Went back and finished medical school. And he always talks about it. He was like, I have half a brain and I'm a doctor, so don't put doctors on a pedestal, right? And he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And so, but the complexity of biology, you go, well, what is the brain, right? Like, what is actually going on? It's like, I don't know, man. It seems pretty. It's self-healing. It can just take McDonald's and turn it into thoughts and words. Like that's some advanced shit. So there probably is, not probably, I would say virtually there is a total lack of humility. We're just gonna merge with machines. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe that's too optimistic.
Obviously, we're going to, in terms of entertainment and everything else, it's already happening, right? You got a microphone right in front of you, and eventually that thing's going to be, attached to some, who knows, some eyepiece that can let you see IR and see into the blue spectrum.
Yeah.
So you can get advanced vision of some sort. But I'm a little skeptical of the things that are going to like, turn you into Darth Vader overnight. I think that's probably a much further way off.
Isn't that what they call the easy and hard question of consciousness? I think, as you can probably tell, I was like a problem student in college, biology. I remember going to like the physiology professor. I was like, but where does consciousness happen? I know we're learning about the reptilian brain and chandelier neurons and glutamate, but how does matter become the experience of I am? And he just looked at me and was like, that's not biology, man. That's philosophy. And I was like, oh shit. All right. But I mean, right. It's the easy and hard question in the sense that the easy question or the hard question is the easy and hard problem. The hard problem is how do we get to the moon? The easy problem is we know in theory how to do it. Like, it's the 1960s. We got to dump 10% of the GDP into it. We got to get rockets. We got to go land there, life support systems. But it can be done, right? The tallest skyscraper in the world right now is 828 meters. We could probably build a mile-tall building, 1,609 meters. It would be difficult, but we know the path. The easy and hard question of consciousness is we don't even know where to begin. I mean, I think they were looking at it like 200 years ago. They're like, you could zoom in, some old-timey analogy. They're like, you could zoom in and blow up the brain to the size of a windmill and walk around and you still wouldn't find consciousness. So
is it the brain? I mean, that's you got to back up. I mean, look at all the organ transplant stories.
Right.
You ever seen this? You replace someone's heart and suddenly their personality goes with it.
Wait, really?
I know people had kidneys.
Wait, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's studies out there. So I mean, it could be that like our personality or memories are actually stored in some type of epigenetic signature throughout all of our tissues, and it's not necessarily all in our brain. Because these transplant stories are wild.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've got a cousin who had a kidney transplant and completely changed his personality. I didn't think anything of it, and then who's it on Twitter I was following, but they were posting all these stories about organ transplant personality changes that occur. And as just sort of a challenge of the dogma that, okay, consciousness is in the brain, and but when they do these large organ transplants, they get not only a shift in personality, but they see different biomarkers change, and so I don't think we understand it well enough to do a brain transplant and expect there to be immortality that way, if you will.
Yeah, it almost seems like a fate worse than death. Your brain gets trapped in a computer, and we didn't do it 1-to-1. That seems awful.
Yeah.
That seems absolutely awful. I mean, Dr. Eben Alexander wrote the book Proof of Heaven. He's a Harvard neurosurgeon. I mean, it's
Proof of
almost
heaven.
excuse me?
Heaven?
Proof of Heaven. Yeah. He wrote
Proof
this
of
book
Heaven.
back in like 2010. He's a Harvard neurosurgeon. It's almost comical how accomplished he is. Like a Harvard brain surgeon. That sounds like a lie you'd say at a bar trying to pick up a
Like
guy.
a
I'm a
Harvard.
Harvard
I
brain
don't know that it
surgeon
has the
astronaut.
same cachet as it had
Not
maybe a couple
anymore.
years
No, no,
ago.
no. Now it's all screwed. Back to the whole doctor thing. It means nothing now. I got into medical school in college about 10 years ago. That was always a bragging point. Up until the last 3 years, I'm just like, yeah,
They won't let you in now. You don't fit the bill.
I
I
absolutely would
didn't
not
get
get
it.
it. I would absolutely not get in now. They'd be like, what are these interviews? I'd be like, oh, that's not me. But that's before the organ
I mean, if
transplant.
you
I changed.
identify as a different gender and maybe an animal, like if you identify as a female cat, you might get
No, they
in.
won't do it.
Identify
They won't do it. I got banned from YouTube, and I appealed, and I said I think it's pretty bigoted of you guys to ban me because
identify as a female pangolin and they'll let you
I know
in.
I said I'm a transsexual, obese, like paralyzed amputee, black
Oh my
like witch or
god.
something, and they didn't like that. They're like, that's very rude, and I was like, it's what I am, and they stopped responding to my emails. But like same thing with Twitter and Reddit and iTunes. But that's beyond the point I'm making. Is yeah, I don't know. It does seem like there's a total lack of humility in which way we can advance and which way we think we're going to
But the
advance.
book, what is
Oh, I'm
this?
sorry, Proof of Heaven. So Dr. Eben Alexander, thank you. So the whole book is how he grew up, reductionist, materialist. I was that way in college, where you just break it up. It's kind of nihilistic. It's kind of depressing, but again, like that's where your gut goes. You just go, I'm in physics, I'm in chemistry, I'm in OChem, and it just seems like it's matter bouncing around. And then he had some infection in his spine, and basically had like a stroke and fell into a coma. And they went and took like a syringe. They went to the hospital, and they took
Yeah,
like a
they
syringe out to get the cerebral spinal fluid. It was like all pus, and they were like, he's dead. Like, I mean, this is 1 in a trillion chance. And he went into a complete coma for, I want to say, like 7 days. And he has the most vivid, realistic memory of it, and like the 3 stages of death. It begins in like purgatory, and then it goes to almost a heaven-ish area, and then it goes into this like pure cosmic bliss. And you come back, and he's now completely changed. And again, this isn't just some guy tripping on acid, as fun as that is he's as accomplished as you get. And he argues, he's like, I don't know what the answer is. I can't tell you what. I've had him on the show. He's actually coming on again Monday. I've had him on the show multiple times. He'll tell you. He's like, I don't know what it is. I'm humble enough to tell you I don't know what it is. But what I can tell you is the brain, clearly through my experiences, does not create consciousness. It's a receiver.
right.
Man, that's the beginning of an event horizon that I don't think we have any idea what's beyond. And
Which
so,
is why we shouldn't be messing with it.
yeah.
Does he describe the like I hear the
Oh
levels.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I hear a lot of people talk about going through levels
Oh yeah.
or stages. But did he describe the heaven? Like, did
Yeah.
he?
No, it's great. It really is. It's fantastic. So like the first one is I think he calls it the Earthworm's eye view, and he's like it's like murky. It's almost like a brown fog, and you feel like it's almost terrifying. You like slithering. You feel like these kind of like creature. You don't
Does
know
he
where.
have a corporeal form, or is he just kind
No,
of?
it's a point of consciousness, and
Okay.
and and then that movie, that's like pure terror. It's like an existential terror. And then that blossoms to the most hyper realistic experience of like a blissful summer spring. If you've ever, I've been meditating for 15 years. If you
Light,
or excuse me,
light,
light
like
light yeah, it's like you're flying, and then I think in that second one, that's the corporeal form, where I think an angel is like guiding them, and it's, yeah, just the sunniest day, the greenest grass, the bluest water, the bluest sky, the, the most reflective water, and like these kind of angels flying throughout the sky, and all the while there's like inputs that he knows are the doctors around him, which correlate to the exact
oh
times.
wow, so
Yeah,
he's tethered to this weird reality
yeah,
thing.
yeah, and he's in there, and it's just like it's this loving thing, and it's you've been here before, and you'll come back to this, and then finally, I think he calls it the core, and then that's like the step beyond. If you've ever done a psychedelic, there's the lower level, which is kind of beautiful. You're like, oh man, it's all, everything I know is learned, and it's all love, and then there's one step farther where it's the sort of, you're looking out at the galaxy, and it's the core of pure, it's not even love, it's just this sort of, this this blissful humility before what you would call God, the all-knowing, beyond space and time, indescribable in our clunky human language. And in that level is where you learn that what you're here on this in this life to do is actually almost like a college course that you chose. You chose to come learn what today. I went to the gym before this and I did chest and triceps. I decided to do that today. And it's difficult and you push it, but I decided to do that. Or in this life, I got into medical school in college. Right after it, I lost a brother to suicide. I then moved home and lived with my parents for 5 years. It was very challenging, and getting sober and doing therapy. And now I'm building this podcast. Whatever it is, I've clearly chose this one. I don't know why, but just to accomplish long-term goals. For whatever reason, I don't know why. And it kind of, I'm starting to think it's to help awareness with mental health. That's just the best I can get to it. But you choose this life, and you've chosen many before. And when he's there, it's the decision is then you can stay if you'd like, or you can go back and you can talk about this. Your children still need you. If you don't go back, they're gonna live the life, without a father, which is, they can learn from that, because they're also fine. They'll come back. Everyone will come back here. Or you can stay here. And ultimately he decides to go back. And it's like at that moment, it's like his son's visiting him. Like the first time he gets there, I don't know, he's like lived across the country. So it's very wild. But what I like about him is he doesn't come out with like a dogma statement of this is exactly what happened. He
Right.
just tells you, he's like, I don't know what happened, but I can tell you it's the most realistic thing there is. So it's very beautiful in that he doesn't put a religion on it. He doesn't say it's Christ or Allah or Buddha or whatever. He's like, there's very clearly something far beyond what we think is like the knockout. This is what water bottle, thermos, microphone is what it is. I'm just talking to Dr. McKernan and Dr. Rose, and this is just, it's very simple, and it's nothing more than, the sun rises and the sets, and then I gotta go eat some food, and this is just what science is. Maybe, but maybe, I mean, they also used to think that, that there was something called the homunculus, which was a microscopic person with clothes and shoes, and that's what was in your mother before you were born. Like it could all be bullshit. And so I don't know. Back to the entire precipice of humility, you got to be humble. And back to what Jess was saying, yeah, we might be tinkering with something that it shouldn't be tinkered with. I don't know.
'Tis wise to be humble.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Or
All tinkering should probably have humility involved. I think that's what we lacked with what occurred perhaps in Wuhan or other labs that emulating the same type of stuff. Is they're eager to publish, they're eager to discover things, but it's that old, they're too busy knowing if they can, or whether they could do something,
yeah.
whether they should stop and ask if they should. And I think they gotta over their skis on this. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear this gentleman's take on whether he's ever experimented with DMT or psychedelics, to know, like, Are there similar states of mind that that he can relate to his experience with death? Because a lot of people report these near-death experiences have, similarities to either deep meditative states or psychedelic experiences, and what can we learn from that?
Yeah, I
And
think
also, what was he on when he was in his coma? Like, was he on any kind of? I mean, he must have been on some antibiotics, right? Because he
yeah,
had probably had meningitis
yeah,
and or
yeah. He had something like that. I don't recall what he was on. But then he has another book which is Mapping Heaven, and I want to say he goes in and talks about all the different studies with near death experiences with psychedelics with DMT. I don't recall that one as clearly. I think he's a pretty like pretty clean cut guy. I don't think he does them, which is to me, which is all the more interesting. I mean, I did meditation for years before I ever tried psilocybin. I remember when I did psilocybin, I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I've been here before a couple times through meditation." Like I was like, "I've done this," and my friend was looking at me, he's like, "What do you mean you've done this?" And I was like through meditation. He's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know how like the trees are breathing and you like realize that everything's love." And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's what I do in my bed. You know when I go to my bedroom quietly for like 30 minutes? That's what I do."
pavement is doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And like but yeah, it seems like that's kind of a shortcut to go experience what you can experience through meditation. But that's the humility of it all. Is it always feels like you're seeing something that is so beyond description, and then you come back to here. And I think the most important point is to not definitively say what it is, but to at least say there's more out there. I don't know what it is. There's more.
I don't know. I disagree. I think we should mandate it.
I think you're right. I think I've often been of the argument that we should be, replacing the ICBM warheads with psilocybin and
One
just
size fits all.
constantly detonating them above cities. And that just gets me onto one more theoretical government list, I suppose. But I mean, it would probably change a lot.
Yeah.
All joking aside, it would probably change. It might spell the end of the world. I don't know, but maybe that's what you need to do, Dr. McKernan.
It's incredibly. I don't, this one size fits all stuff is what bugs me about it all. Is that it lacks humility. That you
Well, you
think
want to
that we
mandate
should
it, not
inject the
me.
entire biology, everyone on the planet. We should centrally plan their immune system with some new toy we just made, right? And inject this into billions of people and see how it goes. Nothing could be there couldn't be a worse strategy to fight a virus that's like spreading all over the world, decentralizing and mutating. Is to like, hey, let's all do the same thing and jump off the same cliff.
To every
Right,
single human
from
being,
an evolutionary
regardless of
standpoint, that's pretty fucking dumb, right?
Yeah, well,
We should maybe experiment with 100 different things and see what works, and then maybe reinforce the ones that work and get rid of the ones that don't. But instead, they wanted to all make their friends rich and decide to put all the wood behind one arrow and jump off a cliff together. That is not anti-fragile. That's the definition of fragility.
should give all of them a high dose of psilocybin. That would change things,
Yes.
right?
absolutely. Well, and then when you
He
look at
might come into the picture too.
That's something that you could justify mandating to a discrete set of people.
oh,
There you
absolutely.
go.
No, it
We'll let
would.
you keep your NIH, but you got to do high doses of psilocybin first.
I mean,
Yes.
I think it probably would. I think that's exactly what it would
Yeah,
be.
all jokes aside, seriously,
No,
like
but seriously, it would
I mean, Kevin knows more than anyone about this, but it is healing. It can
absolutely
actually
is.
be used therapeutically,
It absolutely is.
to uncover the layers of trauma.
It absolutely
I mean,
is.
if you believe in your brain being this receiver, and all the studies demonstrate that you get more neural connectivity under this
Mm-hmm.
compound, it becomes a higher bandwidth receiver of some sort, and that
Exactly.
helps people sort out depression, helps them sort out PTSD, and I think it would probably help people who are in this delusion chasing power to step back, dissolve their ego, and realize, oh, wait a minute, this is not something I should be playing with,
Terrence
and
McKenna.
maybe give them a little self-reflection, but.
Terrence McKenna, his book Food of the Gods, and he talks about he has a great theory about like eating mushrooms and that leads to evolution, but also that they were storing mushrooms in I don't know like amber or honey, and it was fermenting and becoming alcohol. And he's like, there couldn't be more of a marked difference between a psilocybin trip and an alcohol trip. psilocybin's like, oh, we're all one, and alcohol is like, you fucking talking shit, buddy. Like, you know what my problem with you is? And he goes and he talks about the shift between the matriarchal society of sort of this I don't know, kind of all in this together versus he calls it the dominator society, which is what we've been in for the last 10,000 years, the conquering, the sword, the chariot, the bomb, and that's what we're doing. And almost like, have you ever seen those when they build like a suspension bridge and they meet together, and every once in a while there's like a thing where they get to the middle and it's like 50% off, and they're like,
Yeah.
shit. And it's, over a long enough timeline, if you or over a long enough path, if you tip like, I don't know, the Voyager 2 spacecraft just a millimeter, like a just a tiny little, like 1 Newton of energy over 30 years, man, that gap is so large. You almost wonder, is that what we're doing as human society? We're evolving from the pyramids to 5G orbital based internet, but have we not had the right guiding nutrient, right? If you have a deficiency in something, you develop a problem, calcium deficiency or vitamin D deficiency or whatever. Do we have a psilocybin deficiency or some sort of psychedelic deficiency? And that's why we are where we are now. Like, we're at the center and it's like, oh no, dude, the two bridges are not supposed to be here. You guys are supposed to be over
Nicotine.
here. What?
Yeah.
Nicotine too.
Yeah. Well, anything. So, I mean, that might be a thing
The pharmaceutical capture there is pretty overt. I mean, if you look through all the yellow journalism that brought us to cannabis prohibition, this is all an attempt to defend the nylon business. So, hemp was going to compete with nylon, so they ended up getting Anslinger involved to do yellow journalism and associate cannabis with Mexicans, which was xenophobic and racist. And but
Reefer
so the
madness.
ivermectin story is hundreds of years old, right? I mean, that was 1937, I think, when the Marijuana Tax Act went in.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe Rogan is just, a repeat in history of what they did to some other people back then about,
Oh yeah.
Trying to demonize this. But a lot of the pharmaceutical, that whole system does lead us in a direction of drugs that we don't understand, because it's based in a patent system where you have to invent something that's novel, then you can get a monopoly through a patent on it. Whereas if you want to turn around and use some of the compounds that grow in your backyard, they can't patent those things as well. All right. So they're not interesting to them. So in fact, the system is designed to run away from the drugs we understand the most and toward ones that we understand the least, while pretending that we're smart because we've got patents and we have this cool paper on it. And so we understand this, but it's not been given to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So a lot of the I don't know, the whole IP system, I think, drives this pharmaceutical industry to move in a direction of that lacks humility. And it goes in a direction of drugs that we've added a new methyl group to it or a fluoride group to it, something to change it. So the USPTO will give you a 20-year monopoly on it. And now we don't know shit about it, but we're going to put it into a bunch of people, find out, fuck around and find out. And then, we'll remove it from the market 10 years later after it's killed 50,000 people.
Yeah.
It's one Vioxx after another.
But that might be a challenge of our own humility. I think we all agreed earlier that, entrepreneurial spirit and the profit incentive is what drives this. Are they evil, or are they just, don't hate the player, hate the game? It's like they're just trying to make money.
I don't think greed is a bad thing. I'm not in that.
Me neither.
Book of like demonizing it. I think if you start using coercion, it's a different story.
Yeah.
And when you get involved with the patent system, you're getting involved with a game of coercion. So it's where I get concerned is when businesses start tying themselves in with government. It becomes more of like a fascistic system where you've got the centralization of that power is basically it's accountability vacuum. And so any pharmaceutical company is going to try to launder all of their crimes through the unaccountable class, which is what they do. They just use government as the shield, launder it through the government, and then and then people blame that on the free market. Oh, look what the free market did. It's like, that's not the free market. That's cronyism, which is people trying to compete by leveraging the unaccountability of government in their favor. And in many ways, the patent system is that. It needs reform, if not, complete obliteration as well, because I don't think the system actually, you're stealing people's rights when you're using patents, because you're giving this negative servitude unto other people, saying this guy scribbled something on paper And because we think it's the first time that's ever happened, they can never prove that. But that's what the whole patent application process, purports to do, is that, hey, this is the first time everyone thought of a wheel. So this guy gets a patent on a wheel, which means everyone else can't make a wheel with their own property. Right. So you're doling out, you're stealing property rights from other people and giving it to you're redistributing property rights effectively. Because every patent creates a negative servitude on what other people can do with their own goods. So it's another socialist construct of using the government to redistribute what people can and can't do with their property. So I don't know that it actually it has the benefit that everyone's taught it does. That, okay, this patent system is here to like incentivize invention. If we didn't have a patent system, we'd all be shoving rocks up our nose. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
right.
people invented stuff before the patent system was around.
Yeah.
And there's many markets out there that don't even have IP, like the fashion industry, and they have to basically reinvent themselves every damn season.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The restaurant industry doesn't have a patent system. There's a whole host of industries that don't have patent systems, and they survive.
Yeah.
So it's not like this patent system's required. It's something that I think is a form of cronyism that has a lot of negative outcomes that we can see in the pharmaceutical industry.
And then, isn't there something where there's like I don't know what the exact terminology is, but it's like national security, like patent acquisition, to where if you're tinkering around with something, the I guess national security apparatus, it's probably doesn't make me look too credible that I don't know which agency it is, but they can kind of come to you and be like, that's classified what you're doing, and you're not allowed to tinker with this. So it's kind of like, here's $1,000, but you have no idea if they've actually done it, or are they just surveilling you? And they're like, hey, McKernan's got some dope shit going on. Let's tell them that we've already done it, but it's classified. So they come to you and they're like, hey, bud, national security, we got to have it. The Chinese are going to nuke us. And you don't know any better because you're not read into whatever program.
That is one benefit the government has by having a patent system, is that everyone then starts paying money to send their ideas to the government. And then the government can decide whether it falls into one of these weapons categories or not. I don't know the agency either, but I have heard of what you're speaking about. There's something about margin rights the government can have when it comes to national security.
But you don't even know if they're lying. I mean, you have no idea. If they just come to you and go,
yeah, I doubt there's a great way to contest it. Yeah,
it probably doesn't exist. They come to you and they go, hey man, we've already invented that, and cool that you figured it out. But and you're like, oh shit, my bad. But for all you know, they haven't invented it. They're just tapping your phone and they're like, that's a moneymaker right there. And then they hand it over to their buddy at Pfizer or Northrop Grumman, and then they get a job and they leave there. Back to the patent system with the psychedelics and drugs is, there's no incentive to do it because you can't patent it. So they make some enantiomer or add a methyl group, and it's not psilocybin, it's psilocybex, brought to you by Moderna. And that sucks. But there might be,
called Spike Trip or something really, the great way to it.
yeah. Sponsored by Nike or some shit. You're like, this is just the antithesis of all of this. But there is,
they probably even mandated on 6-month-olds.
Absolutely. But I mean, you almost wonder, like, in a long enough timeline, they might actually be spelling their own death, and that we're going from just 15 years ago. I mean, where was weed first legalized? Like Boulder? And then it's hilarious that
California.
Okay.
California, I think, had Prop 215, which may have been with Dennis Perone with the whole HIV. I mean, it's an interesting history. It ties back to Tony Fauci. I mean, a lot of the legalization of cannabis came out of it helping with HIV. So that whole community fought for it and got it through California.
So it sucks that they're gonna, try to make some analog of what delta hydro, whatever the 9 delta THC is, and that sucks. But what we're actually doing is we are opening the envelope to now, and it's not the main act, but that you can do these things, that you can take these mind altering substances, and then the patent runs out and they make a new patent. But what we're really doing is we're starting to push the envelope of what you can do. So I think, if they make some enantiomer of psilocybin, and we're arguing this sucks that that grows on cow shit, it's every human's right to do it. Okay. But what we are doing is we're now agreeing, even if it's just the Pfizer product, we are agreeing that you can now do this. And that's crazy. I mean, when you look back to, oh, you're just, turn on, tune in, drop out, you're a hippie that's dissolving American society.
Yeah,
We are
yeah,
pushing it forward. So it's like, it sucks that they're doing it, but we are kind of setting the framework for more people are now having access to this stuff. And if enough nodes start having these altering substances, it doesn't really matter if I have a psychedelic experience. But what happens if Elon Musk does, or Vladimir Putin, or Modi, or Xi, or whoever? What if you have an experience like this, to where even, and maybe it's not even this flourishing, we're all one consciousness. What if it's just like, yeah, maybe I should kind of be less of a dick? Like, and if you employ 1 million people, that has a crazy effect. Even if it's just
it
that,
does.
maybe I'm just not going to be part of the system. I'm not going to go out and rail against it. But hey, I'm Iron Man. I'm not doing the weapons manufacturing anymore. I saw the receiving end of my product. That's
Right.
huge. And not in our lifetimes, but what about over 300 years, 400 years, where you do see it? Right now, we might be seeing the right flyer, this paper mache bullshit, and some cyberpunk guys with top hats, just, or steampunk, just like, yeah, we got the flying machine, and now you have Airbus A380s. Yeah, sure, there's 120 years, but that's not that long in human history. For us, it is, but we could be seeing these wedges in the framework that, I mean, if psilocybin starts becoming more accessible to people, even if it is a patented thing that you need a prescription to, oh, I need a prescription. Anyone that's gone to college knows that, you don't need a prescription. You just need to know someone that has a prescription. I'm not saying it's right, but I mean, you can get
Yeah,
any drug
yeah.
you want anywhere. I mean, yeah. So it might
Well,
be kind
what
of
you saw
good.
in the cannabis field was, yeah, you ended up seeing both markets flourish. You had the nutraceutical side and dispensaries making all different types of cannabis that have, CBD, CBG, CBC, a whole host of different chemotype dominant plants. And then you saw the pharma side kick off and try to modify these things so they're water soluble, and change the tail on them so they're a little bit more active. So we got both out of the market, which I think is really helpful. That the dispensary market was left on its own to innovate on its own. It's usually like 10 to 30 fold cheaper in that than what you get through the pharmaceutical process. Like, you can look at the epilepsy drugs. There's one that got through called Epidiolex that they use for Dravet syndrome. It's a CBD product, right? Highly purified, 95% pure, a couple other things in there. And that works, but you can get the same thing for probably a tenth of the price in a dispensary that's maybe not 95% pure, but probably 90% pure, with a host of other terpenes and other things in it. And patients report oftentimes that these cannabis extracts work a little better, even though they're not as purified. We don't know
Mm,
why. There's a host of
yeah.
other flavonoids and crap in there that we don't understand. So it was helpful to have both of them moving in parallel tracks, and not have like one be outlawed and it be gifted to pharma to just develop only their versions of these drugs that are all modified. I'm hoping the same thing happens with psilocybin. I'm seeing a lot of interesting startups that are trying to modify the tryptamines so that they're unique, patentable, and a little bit different, and maybe less of a psychedelic experience, but still has a capacity to maybe help someone with depression. There's a lot of people who want to like deal with depression and don't want to like trip and
Right.
see and see the gray people, if you will. They want the medicinal side of this, but they don't necessarily want the journey.
Yeah.
And so I can understand that, them trying to develop different serotonin agonists that might do that, and that's kind of the mission of some of those startups. So I just hope they keep the sort of natural version of these things around, because it's somewhat foolish to try and outlaw something that grows so prolifically around the Pacific Northwest. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole industry of like incarcerating people over that, which is just complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, in terms of like what Jessica said early on was, you wonder how many disasters are happening every day that we don't hear of. I mean, there's also a bunch of, upsides. All of my really most of my extended family kind of lives up in the mountains in New Hampshire, and they're all of the boomer generation, and are kind of that traditionally conservative, or they like half are liberal, but kind of the Fox News, CNN, just is what it is. The drugs are bad or whatever. And as they've become legalized, and it takes a long time, but over 10, 15 years you start to see them all, making their own weed or doing something. And now when you go visit them, even just 10 years ago, and you're going up as a kid, It's the same thing as, it's at night and the parents are watching the news and it's someone telling them to be scared. You go up now, they're all mid to late 60s. They kind of joke about, if you're flipping through the channels and watching football and the news comes on, they'll be like, hey, turn the propaganda off. And you're looking at them, you're like, who are you? Like my mom always used to say about my late grandmother, just my grandfather, just super conservative, just, 1950s, Uncle Sam wouldn't lie. And then when we're being raised, my grandma was always giving us chocolate and $20 bills. And my mom would always say, like, who are you and what have you done with my mother? I kind of look at like my extended family now. I'm like, who the fuck are y'all? Because they're now turning off the TV and they're like, that shit's evil, man. They just want us to hate each other. I'm like, what? What is this? Like, what is this? Or like they'll watch like my show and they'll be like, yeah, I mean, you almost wonder, was this a plan to implement some sort of like digital vaccine passport? It just seems like the Fourth Reich. And I'm like, this is great, but like what the fuck's going on? So like, but you don't get stories of that. So you wonder how much of that is happening just underneath the surface. So I don't know,
Oh, a
man.
lot. I think it's happening a lot.
Yeah.
I think Kevin's right. Like there's a really, really glowing big silver lining in all of this. And I think they really didn't anticipate it.
No. Yeah, it's the come for the king, you best not miss, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
you're right. I mean, now granted, this analogy doesn't really work because it was probably the CIA that killed him. But you look at JFK and, an open top limousine and they shot him, right? Months afterwards, they started doing all these classified things on how to prevent, just for instance, a sharpshooter from hitting the president. And, one of the coolest things was they were going to put these like heat bars just beneath the podium that the audience couldn't see, but didn't matter what temperature it was, is it would cause a heat distortion. Or they could put these micro fans in the flags behind the president, and it would maybe the wind's going west, but they could make it look like it's going east. And as a sniper, you would have to know those minute things. So if it's
Okay.
being distorted or if the flag is going the wrong way, pretty much let's say Lee Harvey didn't hit JFK, it would essentially become impossible to ever get near a president again after that
Yeah.
because you missed. That's kind of what this seems like is they went for it. They went for the digital vaccine coup. And I don't think it's over, but I think it failed. They'll never admit that. They'll never broadcast that. But it failed. The fact that it's
I
not
know that it
mandated.
failed too. Like I have nothing to back up what I just said. I just
Who
sense it.
cares? Yeah. Yeah, and
Like, well, their actions speak very loudly. Like I think a lot of the implementation of their, sustainable development goals, for example, they're all being pushed forward before I think they were meant to be,
mm,
because I think they have a feeling that they have to do that now, otherwise they're going to lose their grip. But they've already lost their grip, in my opinion.
I think you're absolutely right that it seems like everything that's happened in the last 3 or 4 years was maybe, and I have nothing to back this up, but who cares? I'm also a doctor astronaut. I'm also a doctor astronaut, so it doesn't matter. Is it seems like they didn't want to implement this until early or mid 2030s. It seems rushed. Like
Yeah.
when a video game, like a AAA title video game comes out and it's buggy. You're like, what the fuck is this about? Grand Theft Auto, right? Favorite video game ever of mine, made by Rockstar Take-Two. It's the best-selling video games of all time. Crazy franchise. Grand Theft Auto 6 is the last game came out in 2013. It's the biggest gap ever between games, and it is like the video game mecca that they're not. They just announced it. It's like the second coming. Somebody leaked the trailer like 12 hours before it was supposed to be.
Trailer? There's a
Like
trailer for
for
a
the
video
video.
game?
Oh, the Grand Theft Auto 5, which came out in 2013, had a bigger budget than any Hollywood movie ever.
Oh
Like
my God.
insane shit, and it makes more money. So Grand Theft Auto 6, they announced their like the first trailer, December 5th. But somebody leaked it the night
So
before.
funny.
Yeah, somebody leaked it the night before. So Rockstar, the company that owns it, looked at it and they're like shit, and so they released it right away. And you could tell they didn't want to. They had this whole big thing set up for it. And there was another leak like 6 months ago, and people are wondering, is that why it's coming out now? Did they not want to? It seems like they something, I don't know what gave it away. I don't know if we'll ever know. but for whatever reason they rolled it out. It seems to be sooner than they wanted to, and why that is, I don't know. If they're so well, if they do so well at planning, but it does seem like they rolled this thing out sooner than they wanted to, and it kind of screwed them. I'm not sure why. I also know for everyone listening that the title of this episode is frame shifting and about pseudouridine, and we have not touched on that at all. But that's part of because I do, as of this year, I do them live. I have to make a thumbnail and like a placeholder beforehand. I used to just afterwards I'd make a thumbnail, but I don't do that now. So now I just guess. And sometimes this happens where we don't even remotely hit the mark.
But it always ends up being about a cat. Don't forget
it does.
that.
No. Well, yeah, it does. It's whenever I have Jessica on it does turn into a cat.
No,
Doesn't help.
in general, it turns out to be about a cat. It's not.
No, it does.
Not...
Well, I would. You don't. It's not that you do have your thumb on the scale, because you do always bring a cat and pan the camera down to show everyone you. So you're also. It's not all natural. You are. Yeah, you're clearly, you have your own conflicts of interest there, right? It's you
right
can't.
there.
Yeah. But so do you want to touch on that at all, on the importance of what on your Substack article, which is in the description, about pseudouridine and frame shifting, or should we just keep on we should shoot psychedelics from orbit at people, which I'm all for.
We can merge them.
All right. I'm leaving that up to you. How do you merge it?
Kevin?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one.
Sorry.
So, I mean, well, all right. So frame shifting, let's at least get, let's hit on the topic there and start there. So this paper came out in Nature last week or so, I think. And a lot of people are asking us, what's it mean? Why does it happen? I've been on a couple other podcasts prior to this that were talking about this, predicting that this is what would happen, is that when Pfizer rushed this out, if you go through the painstaking process of downloading all the documents they have with the EMA and what they've published, it was really clear to a lot of scientists in the field that they pulled the wool over the eyes of the regulators, and that they said, hey, look, we have this RNA, and if you plug this RNA into your biology textbook, you should get this protein out, right? And all the regulators were like, oh, okay. But what they didn't really prove to the regulators is that's what actually occurs, is when you put our RNA into cells, out comes the anticipated spike protein. They just kind of hand wove around that, being like, look, we have some bands on a gel over here and they're not the right size, but that's fine. It's emergency. What many of us were concerned about is they made a replacement of a base in the mRNA, and they didn't just like change one of them. That enough can sometimes cause problems. They changed all of them. All of the uracils they swapped out with this other base that doesn't decay as quickly, so the RNA would stick around for a long time. Another one of these, I think, lack of humility moments is that they, in their head as a pharma company, they want like more drug, must have more drug, must last longer, must have better, longer clearance, more is better. They didn't stop to ask, like, maybe more is a bad idea. Dose matters in a lot of these drugs. So they aimed to make an RNA that, one, was not natural because they could patent it. And patents were awarded, and hundreds of millions of dollars flow into the NIH off of these patents, and now Nobel Prizes are handed out for this. But by making that modification, enabled them to patent it. So I think that's probably the main motive. And then they claim that, well, it has some benefit too, because the RNA doesn't disappear on you. That may not necessarily be good for the patient. It might be good for, the pharma company. But by making this change of this base, the ribosomes that read RNA and turn them into proteins are now like reading Chinese. They're like, what is this? This is a completely different alphabet you're giving me. I'm going to have to guess, and I might make some mistakes, and you won't know about it for 3 years because the journals will probably suppress any paper that tries to talk about it. We did put in a preprint with Peter McCullough in 2001 that warned about this, saying, look, we have no literature on what this base does from a translational fidelity standpoint. Like, we don't know if the ribosomes read these things correctly. This is a total gamble that is going to produce the spike protein you claim it's going to produce. And no one's proven that it makes a spike protein in using the vaccine in people. They had all these other models they built, like, oh, we're gonna clone this into bacteria. There won't be any pseudouridine in there, and it makes a spike protein, and look, we get a crystal structure. But when they never did is take the actual vaccine you're injecting to people, put it into human cell lines, show us the protein that comes out, prove that it doesn't have any mistranslations. And so Jess has this great Substack that goes through what is this frame shifting and what does it actually mean for people who don't understand all this lingo. I'll hand it to you, Jess. I'm gonna try and grab one of my cats too.
All right, good. And I'd love to back and forth on this because you're the expert here. I'm learning as I go. So another huge problem is the codon optimization. So like for people who don't know what that is, when like each organism has preferred codon usage, it's called codon bias. And a codon are triplets of bases, like the bases of RNA are A, C, G, U. I got that right. And and so they're read like you know, everybody has their own best analogy for this code.
Aren't they like keys? Like it's the correct key to be accepted into something or be read by something?
Well, the hey, you like this snuffleupagus.
Yeah, he's big.
All we see is big fur ball.
Dude, that's awesome. Dude, I live in, not to rudely interrupt, but whatever. I'm in Maine now, and I kind of want to get I think they're called Maine Coon cats. They're like
that's what
giant. That's what that.
Yeah.
No, wait. This is a Norwegian forest cat,
this
right?
This is a Maine Coon, yeah.
That's a Maine Coon. I'm in Maine now, and I kind of want one. I've been thinking about it. That's awesome, dude. That's so awesome.
Oh, God,
I'm gonna make a note. Sometimes I make important notes about something I need to do with the podcast. I am gonna make a note about Maine Coon cats. I think you just won me over.
So they
codon optimization.
Yeah, so they codon optimized this thing as well, which means that ultimately they wanted to, in addition to making this thing last longer by summing out the uridines and putting in these N1-methylpseudouridines, they wanted a lot of protein to be translated. So you codon optimize for the organism that the translation is going to be done in. So in doing that, they increased the CG content. And from what I understand about this, I'm just starting to learn about how this affects the mRNA itself structurally, is that's probably going to cause more kinks in the mRNA itself. And so when that mRNA, like say, meets a ribosome and translation is supposed to ensue, it can only be read as like a string. It can't be kinked. But and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, if there's a kink or if there are kinks, then the way that I'm visualizing is that this is probably somehow, I don't know how exactly, going to slow down translation. And it might even cause this ribosomal pausing, which is inducing the frame shifting. So it's not just from the point of view of the slippage from the pseudo use where it's just like riding through like it's like black ice on a night. It's like slipping right through to that next triplet or whatever. It's this translation velocity thing that seems to be the biggest problem, which can be the product of the codon optimization itself. So I don't know if that was too like.
Yeah, there's a good paper from Pasternikova that goes through this, where they swap out the natural codons, what would be normal codons in the furin cleavage site, to the humanized ones, which are really rich. And thank you, Jess, you were correct. I did have a typo in that. I addressed it last night. Yeah. So everyone knows about, not everyone, but a lot of people know about the furin cleavage site has these weird CGG codons, which are two arginine codons that those normally aren't coded for with CGG. So you code for them with CGG in humans, but in viruses, they don't tend to use that codon. So it was weird when we saw a furin cleavage site that had humanized codon structure there. Pasternikova showed that
the virus, right?
Yeah. So they showed that the ribosomes actually stall on those things because it's a very rare codon use, and so the ribosome stalls there looking for the right tRNA to come in, waiting, and a result of it stalling in that process, the protein is half made now, hanging off the ribosome. It folds differently, so they can actually detect different folding when you change the speed of the ribosome. So when they hand the regulators this RNA being like, just look it up on a codon table, you get a series of amino acids. They don't stop to warn the regulators that the rate at which you make that amino acid matters in how it folds.
Oh.
So you really cannot be messing with the codon optimization that the virus chose, because the moment you do that, you're not making the same thing. You're making something entirely different. But then again, this is this hubris thing that got involved. Like, we're going to warp speed this, and so we're going to turbocharge it with a codon optimization. And you have to stop and ask them, like, have you thought about any of the evolutionary biology here? That if the virus figured out the right codon optimization, emulate it, because it spent time optimizing itself in the host so it wouldn't kill the damn host. The moment you supercharge it to make a lot more, you might kill the host. So more isn't better. The virus needs to figure out how to make the right amount of protein so that it can transmit and not kill the host. The moment it kills the host, it can't transmit. So it's in this game of optimizing those codons to satisfy what's known as Mueller's ratchet, so that the virus evolves over time to be non-pathogenic and spread very far. The moment you go and swap that out and throw it out the window saying the virus is dumb, we're smart, and change it all, turbocharge it, you're now making a different protein. Even though it may have the same amino acid sequence, it's not going to fold the same way. And so this is an area that was grossly hubristic, because when you do, the reason people do codon optimization is when they want to make a cell, they want to hijack a cell to only make protein to the point where the cell dies. Like, we do this, I've done this with E. coli, I've done it with yeast. I want to express a chitinase inside of E. coli. I codon optimize it to make it happy, so it uses all E. coli's codons perfectly. And then I put it in there with a promoter that makes as much of the damn protein as possible. And I don't care if it kills the cell in the process, because I'm just out to manufacture protein, and the cells are my sacrificial lambs. That's when you use codon optimization, and they did that to humans.
Humans. Exactly.
It's like when there's like an internet, like choppy internet doing the podcast, and it might still be an hour interview, but just because it's an hour doesn't mean it's the same had it been like a kind of like this is a flowing conversation. Imagine if every 10 minutes like the internet cut out. Like, I've had that happen. And you can splice it out, but it completely destroys the rhythm. It's like, oh, McKernan's back. Okay, let's keep talking, and then it stops again. You just sit here and you're like scrolling through your phone. The flow isn't the same. So it's still the same hour interview, but it's complete dog shit. Or at the very least, it's just different.
Yep.
Also, if you have a lot of ribosomes paused or stalled, it gives a signal for the cell to die. So like that's what Kevin was just saying.
No, yeah, ribosomes are broken, so destroy it. All right.
Ribosome pathology is a nasty disease. The drugs that induce that, they're usually like they're fungal toxins that can induce it.
Like cyanide in the electron transport chain.
That's more of that tends to hit more of the mitochondria, but there's other toxins.
Oh, mitochondria. No, sorry.
That hit that stall the ribosomes or destroy protein synthesis, and you end up with like liver failure, and they're horrible deaths. So there's a good argument that a lot of what we're seeing in long COVID and in some of these vaccine injuries are some type of toxicity of the ribosomes.
Yeah, and it's the unintended consequence of not. I mean, it really, Jessica.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty defensive about the word unintended lately.
So I'm using that phrase.
No, I know.
I'm with you. They're demons from hell. No, they're
There's
absolutely.
one more thing I think that's important. It's just something that me and Walter Chestnut's been looking at this a lot too, this amyloid thing. So like, and I'm writing another piece now about this because I've written a couple about it. There are published papers out that have shown that there are amyloidogenic peptides that are cleavable by human nucleases to generate these like 5 or 6 long amino acid sequences, is really small peptides in the spike protein. So there's 2 issues here. There's to me, from my vantage point, there's misreading so that you're getting different proteins altogether, these off-target proteins, which I think, that's primarily what the Nature paper guys are addressing. By the way, that paper is brilliant.
Very good. Well, very well done. Yeah.
Yeah. Their experiments are wild. It's really, really worth spending a year trying to understand it. It took me a long time to get through that paper, but it's brilliant. And then there's the on-target production. So it's like protein production. which concerns me almost more, because we know that the percent RNA integrity of the commercial products of the mRNAs was like 59% on average for the 4 batches that they tested. So we can extrapolate and kind of say, okay, well, the percent RNA integrity of the guys that were going into the people in general is probably not so good. Maybe we can say it was about 60%. So we can guess that some bits of the spike protein, if the fidelity is high, the translation fidelity is high, are being produced. And so if some of these proteins are snipped by these nucleases, then what if we're getting amyloids being released? What if this is why we're seeing these really much more dense clots forming in people? Like there's another paper that does a comparison of the consistency of the clots formed from flu, ARDS from flu and ARDS from COVID, and the clots are completely different. Like the fibrousness and the density of the clots formed in the context of, you know, anything to do with spike protein, I'll just put it that way, it's much denser. So what if that's because of amyloids? And so it's speculation for now. Well, apart from these papers that have actually shown that this is a potential problem because they're there, these peptides are there. It's another thing to think about. It's like, you know, because a lot of people are referring to the off-target proteins as being the undesirable proteins and the other ones being desirable. But I'm like, there's nothing desirable going on here at all. Like, I mean, maybe in terms of an immune response in some way, but you know, there was a better way to do this, man, a much better way, and it did not involve this technology. Yeah, so
yeah, the whole concept of just injections to get mucosal immunity is something that like doesn't get enough attention. That like we kind of knew before the pandemic that was a dumb idea. You know, it's very hard to get the antibodies that would get formed systemically from an injection into your nasal mucosa. You need to like spray proteins up your nose to make that happen.
Or breathe.
And introduce, you know, yeah, breathe, right. Masks won't help you there, right? So it's there's a lot of you know, we can talk about these like defects as Jessica's pointing out, but the reality is like you're polishing a turd. Like it's defective from like, even if you perfect it, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
So they need a whole nother approach. If you even need vaccines for these viruses, I mean, that's the point, is like, there's enough like early treatment tools out there that are far more effective than these vaccines. That what are we doing injecting people with things like that's a very high risk way to go about addressing a nasal respiratory virus.
And to answer your question, we're normalizing the platform and also normalizing vaccine passports in the interim.
Yeah, no, that is an important thing. Is like, are we getting caught in the weeds of like, I remember hearing some guy was saying early on in the pandemic, they're like, you know, you know, somebody on the, like, there's like a podcast and he was explaining, he's like, why I'm not going to get the vaccine. He's like, you know, I have a history of heart problems and I'm pretty healthy anyway. And finally someone goes, how about like the answer is just no, like the end. Like, why do you need a gun? Well, I like hunting or I'm a target shooter. How about fuck off? It's mine. End of story. I'm not going to tell you what I do in the bedroom, and I'm not going to tell you why I'm not getting the vaccine. How about no? The end. And I think maybe that's what it has to be. Is it kind of has to be more of like a foot down of like, well, this one's only 59% dangerous, but the other one we made is 41%. It's like, how about just, you know, fuck off? I don't want it. I'm just going to get some sleep and take vitamin D. You almost wonder, are we getting caught up in that of, you know, well, this one kills most people, but this one's less lethal. It's like, no, I don't, stop.
I remember a podcast I did with these guys 2 years ago now. Actually, it was 2 years and a month ago. My God. It was actually with this person, Anna Blackney, who is a bioengineer of the self-amplifying mRNA products. So very, very creepy how that was 2 years ago in a month. And yeah, it's been approved in Japan now, so it's going to become a whole new boatload of problems. But I watched it again today, and it was, first of all, it was very timely. And I gave the example of one of the experiences I had in all of this COVID disaster world when it was really bad. And I was in Israel when it happened. And I was testing the waters of the healthcare world to see what people would be asking me for just by trying to, say, make an appointment with a general practitioner, just to sample the waters. It was kind of an experiment. So I called like a number of hospitals, clinics, just to, I don't know, saying I need my, I don't know, I want to get my blood work done because, you know, I want to get my cholesterol checked or something like that. And it was incredible that immediately, the very first thing this complete stranger on the other end of the phone would ask me was my vaccine status. And I don't know how that wouldn't like strike. I don't even know how to put it, but it shocked me that this person was asking me for my medical information. And I called her out, all of them. I said, look, why are you asking me that? That's an extremely inappropriate question. And I'm not being litigious here. It's like, that's between me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I ended up having to explain to her that these very basic things about, you know, exactly what you just said. It is my decision what to do privately, and I don't have to disclose that to you in order to get healthcare services, and that's a fact. And anyway, just going back to your point, it's so important that we remind ourselves, even though it's been such a long time, that it was always about that. It's like, I can do what I want. I'm a grown up. You don't have to treat me like a stupid child. I can make decisions about my own, you know, if I want to get COVID or you know, if I want to get introduced to SARS and give it a go with my natural immunity, that's my bloody choice.
Yeah.
And the whole demonization of anyone who didn't do this for your grandma, yeah, it's wild how it became. So my point here is, I know I'm not making sense.
No.
Became normal to get on the phone with a complete stranger in the healthcare realm and be asked something like your passport number. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't my passport number, but it's akin to it. It's personal data. It's like, I'm not happy with the fact that you're trying to get me to disclose something like that. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't even told you why I'm calling yet. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. Well, there's a great quote, and it's what you allow is what will continue. And
right.
It is,
they were pushing the envelope, and the man, they got far.
Imagine I was back in college, and you know, as I would now and as I did then, nothing new under the sun, just unsuccessfully hitting on girls at the bar. Imagine if I like when I didn't get their number, or they didn't, you know, say, yeah, let's let's go back to your place. Can you imagine if I was like, hey, by the way, real quick, could you maybe tell me why you didn't give me your number? I mean, I don't think I'm like that ugly. I would get, rightfully so, the shit kicked out of me by like a bouncer. You're like, hey, I know you're very attractive, so I asked for your number. You didn't give it to me, which is fine. But if you could real quick just fill out this form and tell me why you didn't give me your number.
Fill out this form.
She tased me.
Now the dating world is like, you come with a form and say, "Are you vaccinated?"
Yeah, that's
or
yeah.
are you not?
Yeah, I mean that, but it is, if we allow it, it's what will continue. We're like, hey, the next generation of mRNA vaccines, I know the previous one gave a bunch of babies myocarditis, which is an unspeakable evil, but this new one, it's a lot less likely. It's like, no. Fuck right off. And the horse.
Kevin, do you know about the self-amplifying RNA thing?
I've read a little bit about it. They put the RDRP inside of that thing, so it can replicate its own RNA. Yeah, that seems, oh, it's so frightening that thing can just keep amplifying and then infect other people who don't consent. And it's a complete inversion. I mean, the way I see this is the state always tries to intervene and create circumstances that ties your health to somebody else's, so that they can justify their force and their socialization. So they do that with climate change, they do that with viruses, and now they're going to flip the script and make these amplifying vaccines and make these mosquitoes and crap that basically go and infect everybody without their consent. It's not something that I think the free market would come up with. I think it's something that people who want power control come up with.
It's like I think the degrees of separation the NSA can use under the guise of or under the provisions of the Patriot Act. It's like I think it's like 3 or 4 degrees. But if I know someone, if I have someone in my phone book who knows someone who knows someone who maybe visited, I don't know, Gaza 3 months ago. Now I'm liable. But it's like that's like 1/3 of the U.S. population. It very quickly gets tied in of like, well, Tommy, Xi Jinping made a statement about hypersonic missiles. I'm like, what? Like, what? How the fuck? Well, your cousin knows someone that went to school with who was once married to a person that visited China. All right, and then logically you look at it, you go, it has nothing to. Well, it's back to the unintended consequences. You're like, this makes no sense, and it's like it's because there's something else going on. That's what it is. I always use this example, and I know I've kept you guys for an hour and a half, so we can wrap it up whenever. But I always use this example. When my little brother went to college, there's it's normal college town, pretty big school, but there's a store called Piano Liquidators, and I remember when I first visited him, he was like, "What do you think that is, Piano Liquidators?" And I just looked at it. I was kind of quiet for a minute. I went, that's money laundering. And he goes, yeah, right.
That's exactly what my first thought was. I'm like,
he goes, Piano Liquidators in a college, maybe in like New York City or something. It's like, there's probably a store for everything. But he's like, what do you think? I was like, that's money laundering. He goes, yeah.
That was the older version of Hunter Biden artwork. Yeah.
Well, precisely. So when I look at something like this and it's like, yeah, it's super damaging, or, that doesn't make any sense. It seems like they kind of just want us all to have passports. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. I don't get it. They're mandating it for something that they made up, and it wasn't even that dangerous. But the end result is I'm not allowed to go anywhere without a government's. Oh, and you go, oh, I think they're lying to me. I don't think this person wanted to go out for coffee. I think she's interested in me. It's like, hey, good job, buddy. She didn't need caffeine. She could have done that on her. Oh, right. It's like 5 years later, you realize she was interested. You're like, fuck. Like, that's what it is. Yeah. It's that dawning moment of, it's Piano Liquidators. What's really going on? Yeah. Oh, they want
to call this episode
Piano Liquidators.
Better than frame shifting.
Funny enough, it came out.
Keyboard shifting. It's kind of like that, actually. That's good. Sorry.
Funnily enough, we looked it up like a couple months ago. It was shut down. So this was like a decade ago when I visited them. Like I think earlier this year, the thing was shut down, and there was actually a big story that it was like a cutout for like the NSA had a presence on the campus. It's at the University of Maryland, which is a big school. And it turns out that place was actually directly related to this like NSA cutout, which is just fucking hilarious because the analogy is it's exactly right. It's like, no, even worse. It wasn't money laundering. It was an NSA, it was an intelligence agency cutout. Like, oh yeah. So it's the same thing. You're looking at this, you're like, what are they really doing? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. This kind of seems like some Piano Liquidator shit. Like, it's just the hair starts standing up on your neck. Like, no one's buying a piano. And Liquidators, like, hey, we've got too many pianos. Like, oh, fuck off. Like, fuck off. And if they get away with it, it's no one's fault but our own. To be like, well, I guess they're just selling pianos at a fire sale price to a bunch of 20-year-olds trying to get laid. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's like, no, you're in denial. It's a cutout for an intelligence agency, and it's not fun to go, well, why are they here? That opens a whole can of worms, but something's going on. So yeah, I don't know. Final thoughts, if you guys want to wrap it up. Jess, I'll let you go first because you are Miss Jess Rose.
I'm trying to get another chat with Anna about this saRNA. I mean, it's been 2 years, and I mean, she's very, you know, she's one of the people who's developing it. So I would love to think that maybe she's seen some of the data and read some papers and paying a little bit of attention to the fact that a lot of serious adverse events seem to be connected with these products. And therefore, you know, the spin-off, this, it's not even it is a spin-off, but it's worse, the self-amplifying stuff. I would like to think that maybe she like pulled back on the reins a little bit, but if she hasn't, maybe, and I'm probably being really naive, maybe there's something I could tell her or enlighten her on to help her see some light, to be a little humble, let's say, about this newfangled technology, which I think is a disaster waiting to happen. But yeah, I don't know. That's it for me, I guess. It's been really fun with you guys. It's a nice trio.
I always like the conversations that have nothing to do with the title of the show. Those are those are the best ones. Yeah, it's Dr. McKernan. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Oh, I'm getting an honorary doctorate out of this. This is great. I love it.
Great. Yeah.
I don't really know how to sum this up. It's been like 4 years of us ringing these alarm bells, and you know, more people I think are starting to hear the message now that they've seen injury occur and they've seen family members get hit by these things. But you know, for all those who are suffering with those types of injuries, I would just encourage you to look outside the current healthcare system, because everyone I know who's trying to go through the current healthcare system, they are still in denial that this is even a problem. Like, fax injury to them is like, you have Munchausen's, go away. So you got to get out to these physicians who are outside the system and support them, and they can help you get better, because they have the freedom to actually speak about the problem at hand. You can't get better if the doctors are in denial of what's actually caused this thing. So I'd encourage folks to look to those places. I don't know the best place to probably go are some of the physicians I see on Twitter that know these communities. I know the FLCC is involved in some of these things. I've heard of Peter McCullough and a variety of other folks that are also handling this. Pierre Corey, Richard Urso. There's a lot of them that are quite outspoken online, and they probably can, you know, channel you to physicians that are in your jurisdiction that know what's going on and can probably help. But yeah, other than that, you know, your medicine is in your own hands. I think for a couple of decades we got, you know, comfortable with the fact that it could all be outsourced to other people, but unfortunately we got to take sovereignty over that, which means understanding the stuff, investing a little bit more and understanding what's going on with a lot of these medications, and also, you know, listening to other voices. Censorship's a problem, and getting to physicians that have countervailing opinions, because there is a very large and powerful pharmaceutical marketing engine out there that tends to pound out all other contrary opinions, and those opinions are right now worth their weight in gold.
And one more thing on that subject, Matt. It's also really important for us to remember that we're kind of born to live without pharmaceuticals. Now, I'm not dissing the benefits of antibiotics. I think that they're very helpful in the right situation, but like we work really well under the right conditions if our immune systems are optimally charged, like if we're not vitamin D deficient, etc. So it's really, I think it's important for everyone as they take charge of their own health to really take charge of their own health, and not only the lump of the flesh, but the mind too, because as we all kind of pointed out a number of times here, there's a lot of depression on the go. And I mean, yeah, psilocybin is definitely one of the ways that might help, but the root cause of both physical and mental suffering is really important to figure out. And you kind of, I think that's a really important thing for people to focus on when they get back to focusing on themselves, to figure out like why you have a headache, if you have a headache type thing, to make it really simple. And if you're depressed, I mean, I'm not saying that that medicinals can't help, but like maybe bonding with other humans is going to be really
Yeah.
strong medicine too. So fight the machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I would if even if you never have, I would there's nothing I would really recommend in this world or this life more than trying meditation.
Yeah.
And don't look at don't you can, but don't look up a method. The methods are all different. It's some might work, some might not. Really, I would say that is such a like a non-negotiable part of my day in terms of even just 10 minutes, just kind of slowing down.
Yeah.
I mean, it affects everything. It affects like heart rate, stress, just running thoughts, ability to sleep, diet choices, financial choices. I can't recommend that enough in terms of kind of just getting quiet. And I mean, we've made it this far. Yeah, pharmaceuticals are great. They're absolutely wonderful. But somebody once said that they're like a cast. They're great if you break an arm. Don't try to tough it out. You're gonna be an idiot. But once it's healed, snip it off and don't
Yep.
rely on them.
That's
And
good.
yeah, I would say that, pharmaceuticals are great. Mental health is wildly complex, but man, meditation really is. I mean, as someone that's like suffered with it, that's lost family members to suicide, therapy is great, medicine's great, but short of going and taking some psilocybin out in the field, which is also great. I would say
Okay.
I would say meditation. I've done psychedelics on 5 occasions in my life, and it was between like 2013 and 2018, once a year for like 5 years. I've meditated every day for 15 years. I'd say the
Wow.
latter is far, far more beneficial. So do that. And also, you know, what you allow is what will continue. So when someone asks you, how come you haven't got this, or this next generation's less lethal, don't don't get into the dialectic of like explaining why.
Yeah.
Stand your ground. Just be like, no.
Yeah.
How come you're not giving me your number? Put it in that sense. Because screw off. Like, you know, ma'am, you didn't give me your number. I know it's 2 in the morning and it's dark out. And can you just no? She should be reaching for the gun in her purse. So in that same sense, you tell people to fuck off. And if it looks like a piano
Elon
liquidator,
Musk terms, go fuck yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if
Go
it,
fuck yourself.
and if it looks like a piano liquidator,
And it
at,
smells like a piano liquidator.
at best it's money laundering. At worst, it's an intelligence
Worse,
agency
setup.
cutout. Either way, man,
Uh,
just steer clear.
And
Yeah, just steer clear. It's something's fucked. Trust your piano liquidator senses. All right, just look at it and be like, I can't prove it, but something's going on there. Right. So yeah. But guys, if you please go into the description, you can find both of their Twitters and both of their Substacks. I'm banned from Twitter, and I don't know how to use Substack, so
you're
don't worry
still
about
bad?
that.
Wow.
I got permanently banned like 2 months ago.
You want to get back on?
Honestly, not really anymore.
Okay, cool.
I'm kind of. I don't think they're gonna let me back on.
So I
So
could get you back on. I swear. I
well, then
have
get me
someone.
back. Get me back on. Please do. Please do. It's
Oh,
I did the same.
what's your handle? I'll try and make that happen.
I think
I'm
it's
not
just.
promising anything.
I think it's just Tommy's podcast.
Okay. I'll see what I can
I'll
do.
find the exact. I'll find the exact one and see if there's an underscore in there, or I don't know. Maybe it's piano
Yeah,
liquid.
that's important because I don't want to get like one of your trolls like
Yeah,
read.
some duplicate. Let's see what it is right now. It
You know
is.
what? I have something for your audience that might, if they want to look into any of this beyond my Substack, there is something called CanMed videos that we host. So we host a cannabis conference every year, and it oftentimes includes psilocybin as well. But it's called CanMed. It's in Marco Island every year, and a bunch of physicians and scientists and experts get up there and just give the latest on in that field. But we film every talk every year, and there's usually probably 30 talks every year. They all go up online for free. So if you go to CanMed videos, you can get about 5 years of those. It started at Harvard Med School and has gotten a little bit too big for that, so we've had to move it out to larger venues. But there's many presentations on here speaking to how to use these compounds there's even some in there about meditation as well, I think. So your audience is welcome to hit that link, and you can see stuff that's on my Substack, and that speaks to how do we decentralize medicine.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. And Jessica, it's TOMMYS _podcast. So okay. I was incorrect. Now they're not going to let me back on. I did the same bullshit I did with YouTube, where I told them that I was an overweight black woman in a wheelchair, and they didn't find that funny. So, whatever. Fuck them.
All right. I'll still see what I can do.
Okay, yeah. You go for it. I'd appreciate it. No, it would help with the reach, but I'm not too hopeful.
I think it would be fun, because then you can say all that stuff and Elon won't get you kicked off anymore.
I'll happily do it.
Jones back, so why not?
Well, that's the thing, is I got permanently banned last November, got back on after he bought it, and then got permanently banned again 2 months ago. So I don't really know. There's only so much I can care before it's just whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, in any case, you're not missing anything. Twitter.
I know. Yeah, I know I'm not. It's a cesspool of you're screaming into the void. So I don't know. Every once in a while I log back on and I'm like, is it bad I'm gone? It's kind of no, not at all. Okay, noted. But yeah, we'll wrap it up with that. Dr. McKernan, your honorary doctorate is in the mail. Thank you for joining us. And Dr. Rose, thank you for not screaming at me.
Piano liquidators.
Piano liquidator gang. That's just the one. That's just the one we know about, guys. There are piano liquidators everywhere. As Eminem so eloquently said, and the real Slim Shady, everyone could be a Slim Shady Larkin working at Burger King, spitting on your onion rings. It's not just him. Everyone's a Slim Shady. There are piano liquidators in your town. You may not think so, but this is the new communist scare. They could be in your town, in your very neighborhood. Piano liquidator. So keep your fucking eyes open.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, guys, thanks so much. Please go in the description. Please go follow them on Twitter. Please go follow their Substacks. And I look forward to doing it again sometime. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tommy.
Dr. McKernan, Dr. Rose. Guys, take care.